Hey guys, so today's video is on Wes Anderson, an amazing director. We're big fans here at the Film Council, and if you're looking to learn more about a director, this is the best one to start with. He has the most recognisable films and his storylines are simply immaculate. So if you want a revision source for him or you just want to learn more, this is the video to watch. So let's get into it. Here we have some background to Wes Anderson, how he grew up and where he went to school. We also see some of his awards, none of which are an Oscar, which was a huge outrage at the time, I have to point out. I will leave you to read this at your own pace. So let's jump into film style. So obviously we first of all have colour palettes, and in each of Anderson's films he has a colour palette to portray emotions, and usually they're kept to maintain a certain atmosphere within the film, and the colours go hand in hand with each of the characters' emotions. Using one example, the Darjeeling Limited. The two overwhelming colours used in this film are blue and yellow. The blue serves as representation of the depression the brothers felt at their father's death. However, in contrast to that, the bright yellow is to show the bright and exotic landscape of India and its vibrant culture. The film mixes the two to show the sadness that the brothers all feel, set against a stunning backdrop, where others would ultimately feel happy. Obviously, if you want to read the other parts and the other films, then you should pause the video here. Anderson's Angels. I came up with that myself. Anderson tends to use a lot of the same actors in his films, so if you were to do a marathon of each of his films, you would see the same group of actors. And so this creates the idea of the film sort of being an anthology, such as American Horror Story, if you've seen that. Here we have a list and table of the different actors if you're curious to see which one is which. A fun fact here is that Owen Wilson, a reoccurring star within Anderson's films, actually went to college with Anderson, and he co-writes a lot of the films. Camera work. Obviously, this is one of the distinct styles that sets Anderson apart from many other directors. Here I'll leave you to read this at your own pace, and the 3 videos at the bottom will be linked in the description. Next, we should take a look at Wes Anderson's themes. The first theme we see is death. In a lot of Anderson's films, we see characters who are suffering from loss or are coming to terms with losing someone. These deaths are mainly off-screen, however, the characters who do die have a lot of impact on the characters grieving. The best example would be Chaz Tannenbaum from the Royal Tenenbaums, who had unexpectedly lost his wife in a helicopter accident. The next example of themes we see is forbidden love. In many of Anderson's films, we see relationships or potential relationships that would be classed as taboo by society or as genuinely frowned upon. Many of the relationships are, however, heartwarming in some way once having resolved the stigmatism around the relationship. The most prominent examples would be Rushmore and the Royal Tenenbaums. The next theme we'll be focusing on is fatherhood. Even though fathers aren't in many of the films, they in some way have an effect on the characters and their storyline, either positively or negatively. Even if the film is not explicitly about fathers, they are still a theme in the films. The most obvious example of this would be the Royal Tenenbaums, which revolves around the estranged relationship between a father and his multiple children. Next, we'll delve into movie depth. Here we have a key scene analysis. I've chosen the scene from the Royal Tenenbaums where Richie Tenenbaum decides to commit suicide. I'll leave you to read this at your own pace, however, it should be noticed this is a good example of how Anderson edits films to create an emotive response from the audience. The scene will also be linked in the description below. This next slide is probably not as important as the other ones, but it's a compelling argument as to why the Grand Budapest Hotel was an amazing film. Obviously, I'd recommend this to all of the watchers out there. You can read this as it has good examples of editing and cinematography, but obviously it's not as important within your revision. Finally, we have the links to other academic ideologies and interpretations. These, of course, will be linked in the description. So that's it for today's video. Obviously, you should have paused the video at certain points just to take in the information. The point of this video wasn't to have me telling you it, but you can take it in at your own pace, and hopefully this is helpful to you in some way, despite it being different to our other videos. And I suppose we will see you in the coming weeks. Have a good day and make sure you're washing your hands during these COVID times.